So, all right, welcome to Holding the Wall. You got Josiah here.
And Ryan.
Mike, are you actually recording right now?
Yeah, I've been recording for the last 10 minutes. But
Oh,
it's all
shit.
been bullshit.
Hoffa's body is over here. I found it. I poked it with a stick. I was 10 years old. But I'm just saying that we have this over here, this apartment, and I wonder if somebody looks out and sees us, like, what are they doing over there?
I think this one would be weirder, where they're just like clearly looking into my living room and see the three guys sitting around drinking beer and
Look at these guys.
microphones.
Look at these putzes.
So today we're going to talk about pandemics.
I thought we were talking about drugs.
Are you serious? God damn it!
Did you not?
Did you not get the text last night? Yeah, we're kind of doing this last minute just because, Mike wanted to talk about the coronavirus that's kind of in the news right now, and we figured as much one might as well just talk about pandemics and how they kind of work in EMS and all that stuff. So,
for those of you who don't know, that pandemic is a panda that has gotten their paramedic cert. So no.
No?
Okay, maybe you guys, yeah.
That pandemic?
Okay, maybe you guys can
different kind of pandemic.
Maybe
right?
maybe you can teach me what's going on here then.
Well, first, how was you guys' week?
Busy. I was just saying, you seen a spike in like medical calls? Like we've had a lot of sick people at the ER, and a lot of the older patients are kind of dying off. It's like positive flu swab.
Thinning out the week?
Yeah, this flu season's been pretty bad. It's like just sepsis complicated by influenza, and they're just not getting any better.
Yeah.
Our ICU is full. Like there was a few days it was 19 ICU holds with 19 1-to-1s, and then some of the nurses were working 24-hour shifts.
That's how
What?
it's been.
So
in the ER for both of our hospitals that we transport to. They're like, we can't bring you up into the ICU because there's just no bed. So we're going to have to keep you down here. And we don't know how long you're going to be down here. It's just been, it's been a really bad flu season out for us. I know our department, I think every single person has had the flu bad. It's like everybody has had a call off at some point or another, like myself included.
Oh, wow.
It hit everybody. Like at one station, it was 3 weeks of like, if you worked there, the next week you had to call off because you were sick. And we were like trying to decon everything, spraying everything with Cavicide and wiping down everything. Could get it all.
It's all that grab ass at the station.
I think so. Big bed night, it'll get you.
Psst, you awake? Just keep kissing my neck.
Hey, we got a call.
Sweetie, we got a call.
I thought you were getting sick. It's worth it.
But yeah.
I guess we had a busy week too, but just because this coronavirus, frenzy, we had a little baby, like a little 2.5-month-old baby who had, it looked like more like RSV, had some respiratory symptoms, but they were a Asian family, and I'm pretty sure they were Japanese, but there was some like old salty engineer who's like, where have they been recently? Like, have they done any flights? Like, okay, he's like, everybody should put on that. Oh, he was losing. He was like, it's going to be the coronavirus. I bet you it's going to be coronavirus. I'm like, calm down. There's been 2 cases in the United States, one in like Washington and the other in Chicago.
Yeah.
It probably hasn't reached us just yet, bud. Like, maybe like tone it down. So far, the kid's doing fine. Like, let's just relax it. But he was like, oh, I know what this is coronavirus. I'm like,
Please tell me where you guys picked up from. Was there?
it was some shitty little urgent care.
Okay, and then you're like, look what city we're in. I'm gonna bring the chances down for international travel.
Yeah, no kidding.
With a kid at how old? Like 2 years old, 3 years old?
2 months.
2 months. When did we hear about this coronavirus? When did it start?
That kid's still got the new car smell.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and do you have any kids? You want to travel with a 2-month-old?
2-month-old probably didn't happen. Like, let's calm down.
What if?
That's what it was, and I was like, okay. So that's what I thought when Mike was like, oh, we should just kind of go over some of the coronavirus stuff. And I was like, that's a good idea. Maybe we should talk about pandemics and how prevalent they really are, and what we do need to look out for, and how we do need to approach them, the severity of them and stuff. So
I researched drugs, so I'm wildly unprepared for this episode.
I started looking at it on the internet. It says not much is known about the coronavirus. I'm like, well, that's that. I looked into it.
And see you guys next week.
I tried.
How about we first talk about how much, like, not hype, but like how big of a deal people make things. Like when I was a kid, I'm like, oh, quicksand, man, it's something got to watch out for. Oh no, killer bees, we got to watch out for that.
Oh yeah, I remember that when I was a kid. That was like a big deal. Like the African bees, they're gonna kill everybody.
Yeah.
They're gonna take over the United States.
But then,
Well, partially I think it's the news fear mongering. I mean, that happened this past couple shifts at the ER. Everyone was like, "I think I have the coronavirus." It's like, no, you just have the flu. Like,
You just have the regular flu.
Yeah.
no, you've had a couple coronas, and now you got the virus because your immune system compromised. But just relax. Yeah, but how big of a deal they make things, and I know that those things aren't. I think it's more concerning because every year pretty much you get sick. Either it's cold, flu, whatever, and you get this invisible thing that you can't see unless you could wipe everything down. You get one little thing, and you kind of get something out of your teeth and expose yourself. And
So I guess we should start there as far as differentiating between the typical seasonal flu and then some of these flus that we're seeing that turn into pandemics or epidemics. So avian flu, swine flu, those are all flus that were from animals, that were a flu between animals, and then they evolved or mutated to pass into humans. That's the real danger of them. And what I looked into was the reason they're so dangerous is that they cause sometimes 10 times the amount of inflammatory markers than the typical flu. So all those that inflammation that's occurring in your body is leading to these severe respiratory problems like pneumonia and acute respiratory illnesses. So that's why all these weird animal flus, because our bodies aren't used to them, are causing such problems. And it's not that prevalent. Not as nearly as prevalent as people make it out to be, like coronavirus spreading rampantly through the United States through our little small areas. There's 2 cases in the United States, 2. That's it.
is it true that you can pass it to
by
animals?
sitting on the toilet? Yes. Just kidding.
That's craps.
That's craps. No, but I don't know if anybody has caught another. I don't have permission to use his name, but another like healthcare social media influencer. Like China did a pretty good job of catching it because of the whole SARS thing a few years ago. So they're saying that they're doing a good job of quarantining it, and once they're researching the strains, it hasn't even had a chance to mutate, which is a good thing. So we have two cases here in the U.S.
They went full outbreak in Dustin Hoffman style. Like they shut down 12 cities. They locked down 35 million people, and they're like, "You're not going nowhere. No public transportation. You're quarantined. You're stuck here, and the strong will survive."
The Wuhan clan.
You reminded me of that's craps. I was seeing this one girl at one point. She said, when the bird flu was going around, that she went to Vegas and her friend or whatever, they were rolling and they blew on the dice, and the pit boss comes over. Hey, you can't blow on the dice. I'm like, what? Why? Bird flu. Like,
what?
Okay, that's a weird turn I've never heard of. Like, when you play craps, and then they threw the dice and went over, over the side, and oh, that's probably what it is, because they say it's bird flu, like the dice fly off the table. Maybe that's it. And they realize, oh yeah, that's a flu, because people blow on it, and it spread to everybody.
Yeah,
I guess maybe everybody should calm down a little bit.
Come on, you have somebody that's that much of a degenerate gambling. I got the flu, but I gotta go in. I got that itch.
I'll give you
it's
that.
not a rash.
I'll give you that.
And that's why it's a hot joke.
It came from
bush
meat, some bullshit bush meat that it was in some meat market that they were just
correct. Is that still an appropriate adjective though? Bushmeat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it uncouth? Is what you're asking?
No, you're using really big SAT words for me.
Is it derogatory in some way?
What? Couth?
No.
Bushmeat.
Bushmeat.
No, I just thought that was. Where was it bushmeat from? I can't even recall where.
Australia.
Is it Australia?
The bush.
No.
The outback.
Maybe.
Your mom's house.
Black market meat. Black market meat.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So it came
monkey
from
brains.
Yeah, it came from exotic foods that were not meant for human consumption, and it crossed over by intake of these bad meats, I guess.
What you want to ask is
hold on, I'm gonna go on a huge tangent. Has anybody watched that documentary called "Don't Fuck with Cats"?
I've heard of it.
Oh my god, watch that shit. It is so crazy. I have told everybody I know to watch this stupid fucking documentary, and it is some dark shit, but it's so good.
On which
Do you remember? Okay, this was years back, but there was like some story of this dude who like. This is gonna get super dark in a sec. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen that shit. It starts off by like this guy kills 2 little kittens, but he doesn't just kill them. He like puts them into a vacuum sealer bag and then sucks out all the air. It's so fucked up. But then like he like posts it online.
Just thinking about that.
Oh no, it was like I don't like cats particularly, but it was so like horrific just to see them like get killed that way. They don't show all of it, but they showed a little bit of it.
But
and he posts this online, and people go after him, and like it's the story of like these people who try to find out who he is, and like use like little detective work, like picking apart the room and all this stuff, and then this guy is just like this sadistic person who progresses to like killing a person. Apparently, they didn't get into it on the doc, but he like does gnarly stuff to the person's like lifeless corpse, and then posts it online. It is nuts. I might have to just delete all.
I got
this,
another tangent off that.
Fuck, that was so weird.
I learned about this.
Nuts.
Yeah, sorry. Wait, what platform first? If you
Netflix.
wanted to watch that, it's on Netflix. Okay. So posting online. Did you hear about this site called Best Gore?
yeah. It's
No.
the grand, like not the grand.
Yeah,
site.
no, I learned about this too when I was doing my.
You ever heard of
training
Rotten.com?
shifts.
No,
Ogreish.
no.
Those are all not Rotten isn't, but Ogreish is a defunct version of Best Gore.
Really? So this is where like ISIS is posting their propaganda stuff, and or you could watch
Bad and
bad stuff. Yeah.
thousands
So apparently, like
thousands of videos.
the ISIS stuff is shot in like 4K,
very
and that's
depressing.
so. Or you could see like what's that type
don't
of
go to the site,
punishment? Like the back in like the Middle East, like if someone
Decapitation.
Medieval torture, like
stuff like
quartering?
that. Yeah. You could see some of that stuff too. There was a video that one of my coworkers saying the father of his daughter got raped, and they caught the rapist, and the father was able to carry out the guy's execution, and it was just like a Inglorious Bastards, like the Berry Jews. You just took a bat,
no way,
cut off his genitals and fed it to him, and it's all on video. And I was like, okay, I am definitely not visiting this site.
They have.
How did you hear about this?
It came up. I think it came up because we were watching Inglorious Bastards at the station in the day room.
And then it just popped up, like,
And then
hey, you should
it
check
went
out
off on a
this.
tangent about a similar video that my FTO saw, and I don't know.
Oh my
And he's
God.
ex-military, so I think there was like this like fascination with gore, and
I have seen.
yeah,
We've seen enough stuff in our field. I don't need to go search it out. Like,
Yeah.
I have no desire to watch any of the ISIS beheading videos. I don't have. I actually hate watching injuries occur. Like Tosh.0 stuff where like somebody's jumping on a trampoline and stuff. I always like, oh, I can't watch this. I want nothing to do with watching that shit. Like I see enough of it at work. I don't need to see it happen, you know? Like, ugh.
I stumbled upon it because it was somebody was mentioning a video of there's this clear video of this dude shooting himself after he got arrested, and they didn't search him well enough, so he had a gun on him. And I thought he was. I think.
I've
He was
seen
Oh,
that
the
one.
one where he's in the room.
And he takes-
like,
he takes
oh
a-
my
can I get
God,
some water?
the detainee room.
yeah, the guy gives him some water, and then he takes a drink, and you can see him thinking about it. He's like, and he just goes for it, and you're like,
pulls the pant like right out of his pants, and then the guy runs in. He's like, oh God.
oh yeah, no, and the guy at the video, shit, and he throws down his clipboard or whatever, and he's like, I'm gonna get rationed as shit for this. But that's how I stumbled on the website. But here's what's worse: we say that when we say bad stuff, like on certain calls, and you're like, we're going to hell. We're going to hell. I could never write something like that when we, after that statement, like, well, what did he say? If anybody caught it and put, transcribed it, I'd be like, but now me actually writing it so that whoever runs the website, their comments are like bad, like
Somebody watches it and is like, ha.
no, the actual guy who runs the site, because he gets them from all around the world, and it's like the comments like, oh, this poor schmuck, whatever, I don't know, became a Pez dispenser after whatever, or he'll say it like a kid or whatever. He'll say about a kid, and I'm like, oh, I can't.
Oh,
I can't.
God.
And so they also get pictures from a lot from South America because they don't give a shit. Like, here's video, or here's crime scene pictures, and they're actual
Yeah, what's in the drug cartel that just does
Yeah.
horrific things, and they're like, oh, this is just
Oh,
life.
that was one of the videos. Yeah, so it's like the cartel stuff, how they video their retaliation, and
Yeah,
then
they'll-
ISIS stuff. That's what.
Put people in tires and light them on fire and stuff, and
Oh, I don't know that.
yeah, they do some horrible things.
Back to coronavirus.
So anyway, back to pandemic.
Yeah. So it only affects the young and the old.
Oh, so
immunocompromised.
particularly coronavirus. Yeah, I think the only person who has died. Everybody has been old, like geriatric age, except for one person. He was like in his late 30s, but who knows if he had something else going on. That's at least what I found. I guess with these, a couple things that make them special viruses, they're difficult to treat, or there's no vaccines. They spread easily. They cause like mass panic, and they have a high mortality and morbidity rate. So like those are the things that the CDC will look for if they're going to define it as like one of these pandemic type diseases. So
is there anything we're going to see that's, like, for instance, like meningitis? Like, if you have somebody with, I've had one where a guy was altered. He looked sick, and then not till a certain point where it was like, the person goes, oh, man, my neck is killing me too. And
Yeah, I'm like, oh, my neck's a little stiff. Man, these lights are bright. And like,
yeah,
oh,
right.
no.
Why are you sitting in this dark room?
Yeah.
Why do you got a seat color on? There's nothing that jumps out or that.
So there's an interesting little documentary series on Netflix. God, I'm fucking boring. All I do is sit around and watch documentaries where they were talking. They're just kind of, it's called Pandemic for fuck's sake. But they were talking about, there's a company that's trying to develop a all-inclusive flu vaccine. So for any past or future flu, it'll be just a broad spectrum, cancel all your flus. Like it'll take care of all of them. It's almost like a measles vaccine, but for all flus.
But doesn't the flu keep mutating every year?
Yes. So what they do is they took, but I don't know the exact science of it, but they take a little piece from all of the ones that have ever been found, and then they give you like 7 series of shots, and then you're done. And they said that what they've started doing testing in pigs, and they've had really good results. They just have to move on to human trials and stuff. This guy's doing it almost funded by himself, like big farm companies putting any money into it because
it's gonna put them out of business.
Yeah,
big Kleenex. It's not gonna happen.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought that would be pretty crazy. The biggest problem right now is that it takes 7 shots, and nobody wants to get 7 shots. But if you told me, you get these series of 7 vaccines, and you'll never have the flu again, I would do that shit in a heartbeat. Imagine never having to like have that shitty, nauseous, throwing up.
Yeah, that lasts a week.
Horrible feeling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd do that in a heartbeat.
You know that. You get with the flu, you get that.
You turn into a giant bitch.
Yeah.
I am not well. You do.
No, I get that way too.
I've caught myself just dead asleep and hearing, and I'm like
moaning, and you're like,
what?
I feel pathetic right now.
I tell myself to shut up.
Rolling around.
I'm so sick. The bathroom is so far away. My
I just lay on the
back.
ground. I can't even get up to the bed. I'm just like laying there.
And then that happens with every flu, though. At least you're like, at least I'll lose a couple pounds.
That's true. Flu diet.
I think maybe too that.
What?
Das Boot.
I know it bubbles up. I'm trying to like turn it like they do in the movie.
No, you just got to keep it on the side. You can't have the toe up top.
Oh, okay. Let me try it again. I think we're pretty limited on what we could talk about.
So I thought we were doing a 2-parter.
Okay, let's
talk about your downers if you want.
Well, I guess we could talk about like how prepared do you think we are for a serious pandemic? So I know
we have 2 graveyard units.
I'll be honest. The only time I've ever put on a N95 or 100 is when a patient said, "Oh, I have TB." I just stepped out of the room, threw a mask on real fast, and then came back. Any other time, I just don't really give a shit. And if somebody's like, "Oh, I think I have the flu," I'll put a mask on them. Mm-hmm. But that's the extent. Like, I really don't approach most patients with like, I'm not a germaphobe. I don't fucking care. Like, I don't want blood and vomit on me, but at the same time, I'm not freaking out every time a patient is around me and sick. It's just like, okay, whatever. Like, so if it was a legit, serious, airborne illness, I'd probably be fucked. I know, like, so during the, like, a big Ebola scare of what was that, 2015, 2014? So try to prepare for it with, they had these big, like, Ebola tents outside of the hospital, outside the ERs. Like, if you have a patient who's having these, like, symptoms, like, put them in this and they have to get screened and stuff. There was, like, 3 cases of Ebola in the United States? Like, one lady had it when she came back, and then
but they were on the
she
south.
got the 2 nurses who were treating her sick.
Mm-hmm.
So that in of itself is kind of like worrisome that one person came and they already passed on to 2 healthcare workers. So it's probably not great, or as far as like our preparedness, like we knew what was going on, but this person came back, didn't know she had it, and then she got the 2 people treating her got them sick. So I don't know.
But they're probably exposed before they suspected it.
Oh, for sure. But how likely would that be that we have a patient that we don't really suspect anything serious, and all of a sudden it is, and all of a sudden we're all sick?
Yeah.
Coming from the ER, like I know for us, unless it was very prevalent, everybody knew we had to take extra precautions on every call, we probably wouldn't take them. So if it came into our city early, a lot of us would be screwed with my department.
I think as the, God forbid, hope it doesn't happen, the number of cases, then you start to get, I better start tighten my game up a little bit.
But I think it's hard as EMS. You definitely walk in with very little information, and then it's only as you do your assessment, you're like, okay.
Yeah, even with our
And then the
our
ER
dispatch.
has little time to prepare too, because you kind of go based on your run report, your call in. But even still in the ER, it's just like, oh, she's had a couple. We have like that weird random screening where it's like, have you had diarrhea in the last 24 hours? Yes or no. Is it more than 2? Yes or no. And then it's like, okay, positive C. diff screening. Like,
And for these particular problems, like there's these big viruses, the big flus, the swine flu, the avian flu, the symptoms are so vague. It's fever, cough, chills, diarrhea. You're like, okay, so the average flu, or is it a more serious one?
yeah.
I think the preparedness wouldn't come until much later, and it might be too late if you live in a specific area. Like we're not that far from LA. That's a big hub for a lot of these places. Like, so I was watching that documentary, and they suspect that one of these big pandemics will come from China because they have all those meat markets, and their sanitary conditions are subpar. So it's very likely that it'll come from one of those areas. And
You said unlikely, right?
likely.
Oh, I have a. Speaking of LA, I think the next major pandemic is going to be from the homeless crisis.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
It's and
Dr. Drews preaches a lot about that, especially with the homelessness and the living conditions in those camps. Like, he thinks another plague's going to break out. It's supposed to be, I forget the numbers now, but it's like if the rats test for plague and there's a certain percentages of rats that become positive for plague, it cross over into the human population.
Isn't it now the year of the rat? Ooh.
Yeah. You're the plague.
It's a possibility. So I think it's so prevalent in our past that we kind of forget that the likelihood isn't too far off. Like 1918 was the Spanish flu, and that killed 500,000 Americans. I think it killed 50 million worldwide.
Dang.
And that was just 100 years ago. And that was before planes, all this public transit that connects all of us. It's kind of crazy. I think it's inevitable, but I hate to contribute to like fear mongering like we were talking about. But it's a huge possibility.
Yeah.
So, but are you like? Let me ask this question: if I die from it, how painful is it going to be? Like, not really painful. All right, well, what am I going to do about it?
I always talk about that. Like, if there was some kind of natural disaster or something, yeah, go ahead and take me out in that. Like, I don't want to live past that. You think I want to be part of the Walking Dead, having to fight each other and all these zombies or whatever nonsense? No. I want to be quick and painless.
What was that? What was that?
Scavenging for food.
Yeah.
There's that movie I'd always said, the lucky ones were the first to die.
Yeah. I think that's so true. Like A Quiet Place. Oh, yeah. I want to live in silence and like tiptoe around. Just take
I
me
haven't
out
seen that.
early.
Yeah, especially
Really?
with like,
No. Is
John
there a sequel coming
Krasinski?
I haven't seen it, me and
No.
myself either, but like, what if
Jim from The Office.
out?
He
I haven't
directed it
seen.
with his wife.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a good movie.
Is it a sequel coming out?
There is a sequel coming out.
Guess I better
What
watch
about-
the first one?
But what about like, you have that situation where you have that accidental fart when you get up?
And that's it. That's what did you in.
Yeah. And
No,
it's,
loose
it-
sphincter.
it's the second thing. The first one, it's like, what is it, 3 on a match or whatever. It's like the first one was they got alerted, and then the one after that is when you go, oh shit, my pants, and then slosh it around them. Yeah, highly inappropriate.
All right. Hold on. Let me look through my notes real quick if there's anything else pertinent about the coronavirus that we want to mention.
Did we say everything though? I think we got off on a tangent there. I think the bullet points were I think China's doing a good job of quarantining it, and
I don't think we need to worry about
Yeah.
it as much as I guess the media is making us think. I think if it were to come to our areas, we would. I don't want to say we'd be prepared. If it started coming up more in the United States, then I think people would take more preparation for it. But at this time, it's not something to stress about.
Yeah, as it goes up, I'm like, it's getting closer. Getting closer. Are we going to have to do like your engineer and be like, where are you from?
I'll just be racist and any
That's right.
Asian
Yeah.
patient I have, like, it's coronavirus. Like,
It's
I'm having chest pain. Like, no,
drive through. That's not our patient.
Can you come out of the house? Here, throw this on.
All right, so I have a call for you guys. I've been doing this for a while, and I legitimately didn't know that it's possible to get blood sugars this high. But we had a patient, right? And we show up, and they're unresponsive, barely breathing. They're like agonal at like 4 breaths a minute. I'm like, okay, maybe it's drugs. We start breathing for him, find out history. This patient's like bed confined. I'm like, I'm doubting she's shooting heroin laying in bed. So we start breathing for her. She starts braiding down to like the 30s. So we try to like kind of get her back. She kind of stabilizes a little bit, but she's still unresponsive. Then she starts seizing. So we're having to like, all right, now we're starting IVs, trying to give a little Versed. We gave Narcan, didn't work. Later we find out, we to do a blood sugar and everything. Reads high. I'm like, okay, so it's that. So we'll start giving fluids and all this stuff. So we talked to the nurse later on, and her blood sugar was 2,210. I didn't know it got that high. Like I honestly like I know our glucometers stop at 700.
600. Well, depending on the brand, but
usually
I think
600 or 700,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, okay, so it must get a little higher than that, but probably not too much. I was like, maybe the highest blood sugar ever is like 1,000. It just one of those things that didn't cross my mind. It's not something I'd ever looked up. When she told me that, I was like, holy shit. She also had meth and heroin in her system,
yeah.
and a brain bleed,
Ooh.
and I think that was it. But still, that's enough. And I
All
was
that
like,
syrupy,
oh my God. Yeah,
necrotic
I was like,
goodness in her brain now.
I was like, that had to have been it. Like, imagine just pure sugar shooting through those small blood vessels in
Yeah.
your brain, just rips it and shreds it apart.
Just everything just.
Oh my God.
What did I send you? The 2 pictures I sent you. I sent you the. Is this her? A picture? Is this a picture of her? It was.
Oh yeah, I told you
Jemima.
about this.
Mrs. Butterworth.
Oh.
Mrs. Butterworth.
Mrs. Buttersworth.
And then I said,
Yeah,
"Where does she live here?" And I showed her a picture of the candy house from Hansel and Gretel. So I looked up I told Josiah that the Guinness Book of World Records
2659, right?
Yeah, something like
I looked
that,
it up too because I was like, I can't believe her sugar was this high, and it's not too far off of the highest ever recorded.
That's nuts.
But it was like what, some Swede or German dude?
So, but you say with the glucometers, I say, yeah. What's the highest on a glucometer that'll read after just
6 or 7.
Yeah. So I've had it like I don't know. I want to say low 8s. It actually came up. I'm like, hey, look at that! It actually came up. It just didn't say hi. I'd rather it say hi, so I don't have to document.
You said it was a Swede or German dude. I just picture that fat dude from Willy Wonka from the original one.
Let me in. I'm starving.
Yeah, it was I
That's high.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
You know, after I remember
Pretty sure she died.
you texted us about that, but then like a few days later, one of the nurses had one, and it was 1091. Fire brought the dude in. He was like altered in his vehicle, and first they thought it was a stroke because I don't know, they might have seen like left facial droop or something, but then their blood sugar just read high. I thought it was a bleed, but then the CT was negative. But yeah, his sugar came back like 1091, and
Really?
yeah, DKA.
Good God. I still don't understand how you let yourself go that far. You gotta start feeling like shit at some point, right? And they're just like, let it ride. I'm just gonna keep on going.
How was she breathing though when you
Not great. Oh, we were bagging her the whole time. Like,
but she was like Bradipnik?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Must have been from the bleed.
yeah, I think the bleed was she was going downhill from the bleed.
What was the weight on her?
So she was like all of 80, 90 pounds.
That's crazy.
She was a tiny little thing. So she was like braiding down, and she was becoming Bradipnik. So we start bagging her, and she starts breathing better on her own. But even still, she was just like, if you stop breathing for her and like put her on a non-rebreather, she would just start tanking again. So like you had to assist. It was she was rough, but I thought it was pretty interesting. I didn't know blood sugar was not that high. That was news to me.
So it didn't smell like juicy fruit or breath. It was actually producing juicy
Oh no,
fruit.
no, she had incontinence 1 and 2, so it just smelled like poo poo.
Yeah, but the juicy
okay.
fruit thing, I heard there was only a small percentage of people that can pick up on that.
I never.
Some doctor told me that in passing.
When you just put your face in their mouth and
Yeah.
yeah, it's juicy fruit, which I'm not gonna do.
Aside from that meth mouth, you'd be like, oh, I can smell the juicy fruit.
I love this gum that doesn't really taste like anything. Not any flavor. It's just what does juicy fruit?
When I was a
taste
fat kid, I used to love juicy fruit, but the flavor goes away in 5 seconds. So I just eat the whole pack at
Yep.
once,
like-
and
makes
that's why I was
sense.
fat.
like? Juicy fruit's the dad that's not around for fruit stripe gum. Like they just both just kind of like blow their load early. Just
Yeah,
but they're good. I mean,
tastes delicious at the time.
yeah. You offer me what's a fruit stripe gum? Oh, I'll take a piece of that. You just what you do is you hand them the napkin right after you hand it because they put it in, chew it, and then they spit it out. Right, tangent. Your DOS boot looks like it's got spats on right now.
Little clogs.
But, you
That's
know,
a good call, though. I don't think I had anything come through.
It was interesting. We did everything we could do to like handle the symptoms
Yeah.
because we're not gonna fix the problem, you know.
No,
on the field.
there's a lot of things going on with her.
I guess she had been in for something similar like recently because the nurses were like, "Oh, I think I recognize her. Didn't she have high blood?" I was like, "That's exactly what's going on."
That's
we could see."
exactly what.
But yeah, sure enough, she had a brain bleed too, and she was on drugs.
Did you ever follow up with that call?
Later on that day, I just asked, I was like, "How was she doing?" She's like, "Not great. She was not doing hot."
How
And
do you
also, family,
how do you get meth in your
the
system?
most
when you're breaking
cavalier about the situation I've ever seen. Like the
Cavalier.
patient's daughter had 2 small children, and she was just like, "You guys want to go look at the fire truck? It's really nice."
Whoa.
And I'm like, "We're dragging your mom out right now by a tarp because she's not breathing. She looks like shit. But yeah, if you want to go look at the fire truck in the meantime, by all means." Like,
Distraction.
yeah, I guess.
But how do you have meth in your system and your bed confined? Like,
I don't know.
I question those things because it's like, you go and drop me off
Yeah.
over here.
That's a good point.
Right, you're sick. You're bed confined. Just throw the bed over there. I'm looking for so and so. How do you get meth? Or unless the family gives it to her.
She had a caregiver that didn't leave his bedroom during the entire incident, so I'm assuming there was something going on there.
Oh,
Caregiver in quotes.
Dang.
It was interesting, to say the least.
Was his name Buck?
You lost me.
This is a Kill Bill reference. Oh, man. That's funny.
Yeah, so hey, I need some meth. All right, well, you know.
I know the ER's I've seen a spike in full arrests and ROSCs at my ER, which it's not uncommon for us to get like 2
And it's
or
not
1 a
due
month.
to the coronavirus, just
It is not due
run
to
of the mill
coronavirus.
flu, huh?
Usually flu. We're getting a lot of positive flu swabs and just like exacerbating chronic conditions. So flu with asthma, and they have to be admitted for the exacerbation, or flu with CHF, flu with COPD. It's just, yeah.
How long
Have you noticed any kind of like insufficiencies in your like Tamiflu abilities? Like, do you have enough of that medication to give everybody, or are you struggling with that?
No, we have it from the pharmacy. I haven't had to.
There's no national shortage or anything?
I don't think there's a shortage. We are writing prescriptions for it, and then we do get it from the pharmacy if we want to, give them one for the road.
Yeah.
There was a shortage in flu swabs earlier on.
Oh, really?
Or the ability to test them, which I think is just like a quick, for the lack of a better term, it's like a quick pregnancy test. Because our flu swabs are obtained by just swabbing the nares, and then it goes in like a vial with some type of activation like liquid, and then it'll turn a certain color for positive or negative. But the lab was on back order from the testing stuff, so they had a pile of swabs.
With no ability to test them.
With no ability to test them.
So I guess we could also get into vaccination stuff. So that just is all the more reason us as healthcare providers that we need to get the flu vaccine.
I've had it the last couple of years, and I'm a firm believer in the flu vaccine. I haven't caught the flu, or at least I don't think so, but it also minimizes the symptoms and the duration.
Duration, yeah.
So maybe my cold, I thought, or the cough could have been the flu.
But wasn't nearly as severe.
Yeah. But one of the most common questions I get in the ER is when their kid has gotten the flu, or a family member that they live with gets the flu, they're wondering if the whole family should get vaccinated. I was like, not anymore. Like, it's already in your house.
It's already in the house.
You're already immunocompromised. You could probably just get sick.
Oh, yeah.
Or the vaccination's not even going to help you. So at this point, I just say beef up on the emergency and liquids and vitamin C at this point, and just kind of write it out.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
But yeah, if beforehand you can get the vaccine, by all means. So I guess we'll get into it a little bit. All the anti-vaxxer stuff.
What about it?
Where do you stand? Like, what's your thought process on natural immunities and just healthy people building the natural ability to fight off infections? And
I don't have a strong opinion on it. One, because I'm not well versed in it. I'm not going to just like jump on a bandwagon, but I am definitely leaning, because I am in the healthcare industry, and I'm pro vaccinations. So I don't know anything about the holistic stuff, but I mean, like, people did live without vaccinations, or, one of the mindsets is there weren't any vaccinations in like the medieval time or something, but like life expectancy was a lot less. But
yeah, not infanticide, that's something way different. The infant mortality rates were super high back then. So it's something to be
that too, yeah,
aware of, right? Like, who does that affect, the young and the old?
Yeah.
So I also am a big proponent for vaccines. All the evidence that they say claim are reasons not to vaccinate your children is just unfounded scientifically. Like, one of the big things they always try to draw from is this, certain vaccines cause autism. And that whole thing was completely debunked. There was no evidence that it caused any kind of autism. There's no patients that got autism from vaccines. And there's more evidence that shows that autism is genetically based, or is caused from parents. So, like, if the man is over 40 or 50 years old, that they're more prevalent to have a patient or a child who has autism. So all this stuff, like, the vaccines are causing their kids to get sick. There's a bunch of anecdotal, I guess, evidence like, oh, my kid got the vaccines, and then 2 weeks later, something happened. They got diagnosed with autism, they got sick, whatever it may be. That in and of itself, that gap is demonstrating that it wasn't caused by the vaccines. If it was the next day, it might be some evidence. But, I know there's vaccine courts and everything, but that is for a very, very small population. Like, think about how broad our biology is on a individual basis. Mm-hmm. Like, of course, some people might not react super well to vaccines. Very small number. In the grand scheme of things, it's so much more beneficial to, like, get your children vaccinated for all these different things. Like, measles wasn't a thing like 5 years ago.
Right.
Nobody had measles, but now we're having a huge measles outbreak where kids are dying over the last 3 years because of all these people who are like, oh, I'm an anti-vaxxer. It's so ridiculous. In my mind, like, I have a pretty strong opinion on it. I think it's just so stupid. If you really look into the people who are claiming that their kids got sick, there probably is some evidence that shows that's not due to the vaccines. That was a long rant. A long doers-filled rant.
For me, she was on the other foot. I'm like, Josiah's talking more than me right now. He's getting me back.
I thought you had an opinion on that. You had a smug look on your face.
Oh no, what I'm doing right now is just messing with my mustache, my lower lip. So it looks like I'm mad. I'm like, feels good, pokey. You know when you like kiss a girl's armpit, it's a little rough. Oh, the doer's just
a little bit, yeah.
Doer's just.
Is that what you're doing to yourself?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It smells the same too. You want to hear mustache? Ew.
Dirty mustache.
How about you, Mike? Any recent surges in calls from like?
We're seeing. I can't. That's what I was going to ask you guys. How long do you think when you guys were working? We have that when I was working in Vegas. You had that time where post Christmas, everybody's getting sick. Mm-hmm. They're being transferred for this and that. You kind of question them, or you find out that a lot of this stuff stemmed from, I had the flu, or I had whatever, a cold a couple weeks ago, and then it just spiraled from there. Here, the new place I work at, newer I should say, is that seems like we're right in the middle of it right now, transferring patients, and we got more of like flu-based stuff. That's where it started from.
Yeah.
So
I always contribute that big influx during the holiday season to family visiting their like older relatives, and then that family not seeing that relative for 6-8 months or whatever, and then that natural decline in health. They're like, oh my god, grandma's sick. Well, grandma's just getting older and she looks a little more shitty, and you're like, okay, now you're worried all of a sudden because you just haven't seen her in a year. So I think that's a part of it, like just that natural decline in health that occurs, and then when the family sees them and it's been a year and all of a sudden that natural decline seems a little more acute, then they freak out and like, oh, I think she needs to go to the hospital. I see that a lot where like grandma's like, I'm fine, nothing's wrong, I feel this way all the time, and health wise she's doing okay, all her vitals are stable, she doesn't really have a real chief complaint, but family's freaking out because they think she looks off or something's wrong or whatever it may be. I see that quite a bit, actually.
I can see that happening to you.
Yeah, and it sounds okay. Okay, we got some. I mean, we might have something here because what's different? That's what I was asking. What is different?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
What's it? Well, they say, I wasn't sick yesterday. I didn't get injured or anything happened yesterday. Well, like I said, every day you're one day older. That one day could be past your warranty, right? Just
one day past your warranty.
Medications are keeping you ticking.
Yeah. Yeah, but what about? I had this kind of thought right now. It's like right now you have the window open in your room over there. What about like you have family come over? You got somebody who may be sick. Really, you're stuck in a box and the heater's on in a house. It's kind of circulating funk.
That's why they always say that you get sick more, or the illnesses and flus and colds and stuff spread more prevalently when it's winter because you close everything up. You're all in one room. That's just less
lingering.
Yeah, everything's kind of just sitting in your house, supposedly, allegedly. I don't know.
I don't know. I got family. I don't visit them.
Yeah, that's my life.
That's not true for me.
Yeah,
I love my family. I love them dearly.
They're not going to listen to this. You don't have to lie.
Why would I listen to that? Call you on the phone and then listen to you talk.
My family should listen to this because it's the only time they're going to hear me talk.
Jeez,
I was kidding. Kind of.
I've had
What turn did we take? Dang.
I've said several people ask like, so where can you find it? Whatever this and that, and I'm like, give it a couple more. Let's see if I talk poopy on you.
Yeah. How many coworkers and stuff are gonna shit talk before you're like, should I tell everybody at work about this or not? I think our second episode I kind of bashed somebody, but it is what it is. We talked about a STEMI incident that I ran, and one of my coworkers didn't handle it super well. Or he neglected to tell me something important until after the call. He was like, oh, I told you about those, PD5 inhibitors, right? Told you about the Cialis? Like, no. I asked the patient. He didn't tell me about it. Did you know about it? He's like, yeah, you shouldn't give nitro. I was like,
wait, was this at your current job or when we were all working at the same place?
Current job.
Oh.
You didn't see the bottle? It said boner pills on there.
I was like, hey, man, that probably would have been important to tell me. He's like, oh, my bad.
Like 2 sprays ago.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I already gave him 3 sprays, and he was like on scene. He was like, "Oh, you want me to give nitro now?" I was like, "I can give it in the back." Hey, man, if you knew about the Cialis, maybe you tell me, and maybe not bring up nitro as a treatment modality.
Oh man,
on scene.
So what happened?
No.
How was the patient though?
He was fine.
That's
he was tripping so hard that his blood pressure just maintained.
On the flip side of that just reminded me of a call that came in the last shift. I picked up the phone, the ALS line, and it was just like, so-and-so's coming in with elderly male. I forget the age. But chest pain, they suspect cardiac, but the 12 lead was negatives, but they're going to go with their cardiac protocol. So basically Mona, right? Morphine, oxygen, nitro, aspirin. They neglect to tell me that this guy has CHF. And he presents, they only gave 1 spray. They did everything once. And they're like, oh, it's weird. His chest pain never resolved. And then he found out he has CHF and his BP was like in the 180s over 150s. So I was like, so you didn't think this was CHF? I know you have a protocol where it says if it's greater than 150, you could stack those sprays 3 times, you know?
Yeah.
But no, they just did everything once. And it was a CHF exacerbation.
That happened the other day. We had a lady who, they were like, who gave me pass down? It wasn't a very good pass down. This lady was in respiratory distress. And hey, she has pretty bad pedal edema bilaterally. Her lungs, they're like, I think she's just having some COPD. Like, no, she sounds junky. Sounds like rails to me. Mm-hmm. And her blood pressure is sky high. It was like 190 over 120. I was like, and he was just like, oh, let's give a breathing treatment. Like, why don't we do get nitro? Give some nitro paste. Try to get that blood pressure down a little bit. Give some CPAP, and we'll see what happens. And he was like, I don't know. And like, they were fighting me on this. I was like, what do you guys not see about this patient that has CHF, that has all these symptoms?
Yeah.
That's just very blatantly CHF, and you're just gonna be like, it's whatever. It's probably just respiratory distress. But why? Like, why not try to treat this? It was a bizarre circumstance, and I didn't. Really
Patient cough once. It might be pneumonia.
Yeah. I was like, what are we doing here?
How about next time we meet up too? We can throw ourselves like just for learning things. Like, all right, here's a call where I really mucked it up. Like next, where you kind of throw yourself. Like, I admit, a confession doesn't feel good to say this, but it was my younger days. You know, I was doing drugs on the job. I didn't. That's not true. That's not true. Edit that.
Let's hope it didn't come into that.
Hold on. Let's go with the legal way. I was huffing glue. What do you think? Would you be willing to do that?
So actually, I'll go out on one right now. It was when I was still with our private ambulance company that we all worked at. It was early on. I think it was our first 2 or 3 months. And I was with this guy. He was a flight medic, and he had 13 years experience. And I was this little 2-3 month paramedic. So I kind of looked up to him, and I was like, okay, this guy knows what's going on. And we get this patient, and he has a heart rate of 190, and it looks wide. So it looks wide, fast, and regular. Mm-hmm. So in his mind and in mine, I'm just like, okay, we need a synchronized cardioverter because this patient's unstable. They're super hypotensive. And I just didn't know enough to assess everything before I jumped to that conclusion, right? So we shock him 3 times and nothing. I'm like, okay, so we can give amiodarone drips. Let's give that. So we start giving amio drip. And this guy's, I should have recognized it then, but it's something I recognize now that he was super stressed. Like he got the mixed shakes and everything. So I was like, okay, I'll get the IV, which I got. But he was just too shaky to even get him. Like, okay, I should have recognized one, that he's too stressed out, that I could take a step back and try to see the big picture of what's going on.
How about your work partner?
Work partner, yeah.
Oh.
So this experienced medic was stressing hard, and so I get the IV, and he starts hanging this amio drip, and we bring over to a shitty hospital in the area we worked.
Okay.
So we bring over there, and they're like, what the fuck is this? They're super mad at us. I transport code 3, and he's in the back. But in retrospect, the kid was coming from one of those skilled nursing facilities where they all have sepsis. Every
has sepsis?
Severe patient has sepsis. And this kid was burning up. His rectal temp was 108 point something.
What? Ooh.
Yes. So in retrospect, I now recognize, okay, this kid wasn't in VTAC with pulses. He was in a severe sepsis. It was probably just a really fast science tech because he was so sick, right? He's hot. He's hypotensive. It's just really bad sepsis. So what this kid needed was cold packs and fluid. But at the time, I was inexperienced. I was trusting the judgment of this older senior paramedic. I just went down this treatment modality that wasn't beneficial at all, And when we got there, they're just like, what are you guys doing? And we told him, we saw this wide, fast rhythm, and do you not feel the patient? I was like, yeah, just for me, it didn't click, but this guy was the patient cares, and he was giving me this stuff we needed to do. So I did it. And I just afterward is one of those things where I was like, why didn't I recognize or say what I was seeing? And it was one of those learning moments where just because they have more experience doesn't mean they know more. Mm-hmm. Giving me some outside perspective, hey, did you notice this or this or this? That could have changed the entire treatment modality.
Did the ER pick up on what could have been going on right away? Prior to the rectal temperature?
No. So they saw the wide fast rhythm too and kind of started going down that. And then when they got the rectal temp, they were like, oh, this is something else. And at the time I was like, I'm so that. I feel like an idiot. I should have known that. I should have recognized that.
Was the patient old or young?
Young, 18.
But they were at one of the shittier places from?
I'll edit this out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, where they use the goddamn... Is it HY?
Yes.
What do you... Spell that right.
I don't remember that.
Every single time we went there, it was sepsis secondary to pneumonia. It was always. They had trachs and they were just fucked. And it's exactly that.
Speaking of that, this reminded me. I know we have our own episode of sepsis, but... Fire brought one in like that too. This elderly gentleman apparently caused a minor TC. He was supposed to make a turn off the off ramp of an exit, and he just ended up going straight. And then so fire comes on scene, and they assess him, and they think he's having a stroke. He's aphasic. He's got he can only move like one extremity. And so we do a code stroke activation, and same thing, like walks like a duck, talks like a duck.
Yeah.
But the CT was negative, and then during the triage process, since he couldn't even like follow commands, we did a rectal temperature, and it was like 103 something.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa, this is not a stroke. The doc did a 180. It's like, this is sepsis. Like, we need to hang the broad spectrum antibiotics. We got to get 2 large bores and hang 30 per kilo ml NS, right? And I was like, okay, like I was skeptical, but I mean the CT was negative too, so like I really wasn't sure what was going on. But that guy perked up after like 3 liters. He was talking again. He was moving all extremities. His NIH went from like a 14 or 16 to a 1, which you don't use it in the field, but the NIH is what hospital uses to. Yeah, the higher the number, the greater the deficits the patient has. So yeah, it went from like a 16 to a 1.
Wow.
But yeah, that was.
Well, we've had 1 million of those patients at the old company where like we were so, I guess, sepsis was so prevalent. Man, I can't tell how many times I've had patients who are just completely altered when talking out of their ass, like, "Oh, do you see the unicorns jumping around the room?" Like, "You're tripping, bitch." and it was just sepsis, it's just like a gnarly UTI that just got ran amok. Sorry, I had a patient at 2 a.m. the other night that said she had a yeast infection that just wouldn't get better, and I was like, God damn it, like I'm waking up this early for a fucking yeast infection that's run amok. It's like, God damn it. I was so mad. I was just like, just get on the gurney. She was like 4 foot nothing, just old Southern black lady, and she was like super cute, but she's like, well, this yeast infection's growing out of hand. I'm like, just get on the gurney.
Was it 2 in the morning, huh?
Yeah, 2 in the morning. I was like, I see the monostat sitting there. I was like, what? I was like, God.
Yeah, that used to be an Uncle Ben's commercial back in the day.
Really?
Yeah. Do you remember that one with we transported? And it was from the place that we mentioned. It was one of the places we mentioned earlier today. And it was like, I don't know, she had something in the vaginal area, and they circled it like aggressively on the chart. It was the body, and it was like really circle, like emphasis, like
on the transfer packet.
Yes,
like,
yeah,
pointing dot dot dot. And it was like I don't know if it was like herpes or whatever, but it was like circle dot 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 exclamation point.
Yeah, the clap.
Yeah, that's what it was. That was what it was. And Josiah is like, man, somebody really wanted to emphasize that. You look at, is it Buck? Is that guy Buck work here or what? Like, do not get it.
Yeah,
do not.
Jeez,
that's what it reminds me of. Yeah. So was it?
So like on those transfer sheets where they have like the front and the back anatomical positions, it's like
right there,
like pointing right to the vag. Like, okay, we get it. Jesus.
And it said too, like what did it say?
I don't know enough about that, but that body is supposed
vaginal discharge.
Yeah, there you go.
Heavy.
I'm pretty sure
excessive. What?
That transfer packet, that's just to identify the wounds of the patient.
They just circled the vag.
It was like what like fine or good thick. You're like, all right, stop, just stop.
Yeah, we get it. You don't have to describe every aspect of it.
With that lady, was that bottle of Vagisil, was it like just completely drained? Like, you try to get that last drop of toothpaste out. Like, man, why did you call now? I can't get any more out of that tube there.
I put the whole thing in. And her dog was just yapping in the back. I was like, this man.
Get on the gurney. Wait, hold on. All right.
That's so gross. All right, I really feel like we didn't talk about pandemics at all.
No.
We just kind of went off the rails. We drank this mini keg of...
It's not a keg. That's a hand. What would be a handle? It's a unique...
New York?
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. A unique Asahi bottle that's like...
There you go, yeah. Anyway, we drank all of it.
I think you should just title this The Cruise Show. It shouldn't be a pandemic episode. It should just be a cruise show. No title.
Coronavirus?
Coronavirus?
with a question mark? Did we cover this? I don't know. Anyway, we'll don't trip out the coronavirus. We're going to be fine. They quarantined all the people, and they're stuck in their homes, and they can't leave. So
stay away from the Chinatowns.
What you could do is just tack on later when we learn more, a lot more.
Was that the end of your sentence? That was a very weird end.
I was still waiting for the... Anyways.
When we learn more.
When you learn more.
Oh, okay. The end.
I am not well.
You did mention you're going to be a little more kooky than normal.
Yeah, today I have been. That too, right now. I don't know if you saw my head, because I had my arm right here, and it felt like somebody grabbed my sleeve, like touched it, and I was like, I did one of these, and because I thought it was Kristen came home, and I was
place is haunted, dude.
And I was like, that's why you didn't see my head jerk over, like.
So I was listening to you guys listen to Radiolab ever?
Radio?
What?
Radiolab?
Radiolab?
No, not as often. Carol listens to it a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I've had this big theory on souls and stuff, and I can get it to them someday. But they're talking about how there's been 108 billion people who have died since, Homo sapiens have emerged to now, compared to the 7.6 billion who are alive now. And I was just thinking,
Who's tracking that? How do they know that?
it was math. It was estimated math. And there's a way to derive it and stuff. And they talk about all that math and how they get into it. But an estimated 108 billion. And I was just like, if there's ever been any evidence as to there not being ghosts, that would have to be one of them, right? Because for all the people in the entire span of human existence, 108 billion have died. There'd be ghosts everywhere, all the time, at every given moment. And there's not. Have you ever seen one?
No.
Have you ever seen one? I haven't seen shit.
No.
I haven't seen a goddamn thing. And like, when they die under horrific circumstances, what the fuck do you think they were dying from the majority of their fucking human existence? It was like war and murder and fucking just getting your head bashed in with a rock. Like, it wasn't good shit. It wasn't like, I got cancer and I died over a long period of time. I got a heart attack and died over like a little brief period.
Was it like Grandpa died? Grandpa at age 40.
Yeah, they died in horrific ways, like getting eaten alive by a bear and shit.
So you skeptic, or you just don't believe in it at all?
This is a conversation for another time. I don't believe in souls, period.
Huh.
Oh, we had this conversation about the brain and how you have no choice.
Well, that's determinism versus free will, and I don't believe in free will.
No,
I think
as far
that's an
as
illusion.
Like, you can't if you mack me on the head with
Start
something.
this at the end of the episode. Wait, so okay.
Can we have a philosophy podcast? I love philosophy. I get super balls deep in philosophy. Like, I love that stuff. So.
Well, I mean that's pretty relevant. I mean, you think about all these people that are tubed in the ICU and their families waiting for them to bounce back.
So I think one of the most important
there's consciousness there. There's
understanding to becoming content with your career as far as like having patients die and live is, I guess, your beliefs on death. I think my understanding and my thoughts and how much time I've put into thinking about like is a life and a soul and the importance of what happens when you die and all this stuff. I think my understanding of what I've come to a conclusion of has helped me with dealing with patients who die and live. Like I come home every single shift with a clear conscience, ready to just have a good old time on my 4-day. Mm-hmm. And I don't bat another eye because I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out where I stand on death.
Didn't we talk about this, how where you could mack me on the head with a rock and then changes my personality, so therefore, and then, like people that have the traumatic brain injury and then they end up killing their family because all of a sudden it's like,
think about patients with CTE. Like there's the famous WWE wrestler who was supposedly a very nice guy prior, and then after he developed CTE, the chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
I'm thinking of the name of Chris Benoit?
Chris Benoit,
yeah.
And then he ends up killing his whole family and himself. And then, or Junior Seau, another famous athlete who was supposedly a very nice guy prior, and then all of a sudden he develops severe CTE and then blows his brains out. So that leads me, or like the famous case that you always hear about in like psychology is Phineas Gage. You guys remember that?
No.
Do you ever take a psych class or anything? So Phineas Gage was a railroad constructor, and he was working on a railroad, set some explosives, and was hammering it in a steel bar. Spark lit, shot the steel bar through his head, through his face, out through his frontal lobe, destroyed his frontal lobe completely. Uh-huh. And everybody reports that beforehand he was a very pleasant, happy guy, very ambitious. And then after this incident, when his frontal lobe was destroyed, he was a complete asshole, like very compulsive, and he was rude and angry and volatile and just completely different person. And that was just due to damage to your frontal lobe, like your decision-making area. So if you believe in free will, it just is crazy to think that all of that stems on how intact your frontal lobe is. So if your personality completely changes due to some kind of head trauma, then where do you stand? Like, what if you're a completely good person prior and all of a sudden you get into an accident, you hit your front of your head and part of it gets hurt, and then you're a bad person? Well, how can any higher power judge you off of that? Like, that was just pure circumstance that led to you becoming an asshole or a bad person, quote unquote. So to require retribution for a patient or a person who becomes a bad person because of that is just immoral, I think. Sorry, we're getting too deep into this.
No,
I think this is probably better suited for another.
This should be more fresh. This should be a good episode. Yeah.
Okay, so we can do as Thomas Nagel would
peek.
say, on death. He wrote a good paper on death and where he stands on it, what it means.
That whole thing is Gibby. We went out and his name now is Giblets Moonburn because he's so white and gets sun burn from the moon.
So stupid. I was like, where's he going with this?
So anyway, so we were talking. He said he was reading that book. Remember that book you let me borrow? Victor
Frankl. It is. Shoot, what's it called? It's a amazing book. The Meaning of Life?
Yeah,
No.
something like that. That's what I said. It's like let's see, Man's
Search for Meaning. There it is. Man's Search for Meaning. That is. Have you ever read that book?
No.
Are you paying attention, or are you just sitting thumbing away on your phone?
I've never read that book.
So Man's Search for Meaning is about a psychiatrist who went through Auschwitz.
Okay.
It's his first-hand telling of his experience and certain things he recognized in his fellow prisoners, as far as like the ones that seemed to give up, and those were the ones who had a tendency to die off, compared to the ones that tried to find meaning, even despite being in their circumstance, try to find meaning in their lives. His analysis of those individuals and where he stood and all this stuff. I had to like put it down sometimes just because like
Heavy topic.
Yeah, World War II.
made me like I was starting to read it, and I was tearing up. Like, what?
Oh yeah,
how
I was
can we
tearing up
do that
too.
to
Like
each other?
there's
Like,
some parts where I'm like, oh man, I can't believe that people can do this to another person. Like these are human lives, and just the suffering that they caused. It was very intense, but it's a really good book if you recognize how important your perspective on things is, and how big of a role that plays in your happiness in your life. It's cool. It's a good book. That book and Randy Pausch's The Last Lecture, I think, are books that I recommend for every person in their like 20s to 30s, because it kind of gives you perspective on your life and how important perspective is. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Where does
gotta
Josiah?
absorb that.
I'm losing right now.
You're not losing me.
Where does Josiah stand on reincarnation?
Okay, we'll save this for a different episode. I think
Yeah.
we're getting into I think the booze is talking a little bit.
I only had one equivalent. Equivalent of one.
I had the Doers and the Stoss Boo. It probably ever filled like 3 times, so I'm a little buzzed. And a bullshit salad for lunch. Doesn't help.
That's a chicken.
Really stroke my mic.
I carved up before this. I was like, fuck, we're going to drink a
I had
lot.
a cookie.
That's why I'm still. Yeah, I ate
at Snooze. I had a
ate-
pancakes with corned beef hash. Man.
Which one did you go to?
The one in Orange. I didn't know that even opened.
Yeah, right next to it's a fried chicken place that I have yet to go to.
Owned by a Filipino guy, I heard.
What, buttermilk?
Yeah, that conversation happened at Snooze.
What time is your heart out, Ryan?
Probably 5. I got to be out there at 5:30 to set up.
You can wrap it up now.
I thought it was a restaurant you're going to.
It's Chinese New Year.
Should we do our well, I guess I can add the outro later, but this was kind of a episode on pandemics. We talked about it a little bit. Kinda.
More of a crew show.
What the hell's a cruise show?
No
We
topic.
are the crew.
Open forum.
No real topic.
Yeah.
And we're just bullshitting.
Where did you guys get this? Where you guys? I'm not hip with the lingo.
I
I'm
wasn't
plagiarizing
either,
from
but
another
I just
podcast.
figured it out.
But
I picked up what he's putting down.
apparently the crew shows rate higher on some of the other podcasts I follow.
They what? They retire?
They rate higher.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how you rate them.
So I've heard that too, where like one of the big ones I listen to is like The Fighter and the Kid. As good as the guests are, they have like great guests like Chris D'Elia, Theo Vaughn. But sometimes when it's just those two bullshitting, like they get the highest ratings they get. Hey, it was just us today, and that's all good.
So if you like the sound of our voices and anything.
But I was thinking we should do a Patreon episode that coincides with this, and it was just us watching one of those kind of pandemic movies, and that's just I have every intention of getting hammered.
I wonder how we could do that. Like, can you?
We just set these up over there. We sit on the couch and watch the soda, and then you just you're like, all right. So for anybody listening, we're starting off we're at 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. Pair up your movie with it, and then people watch the movie while listening to us.
And then where would they get the movie from?
I don't know where we're gonna get the movie. Netflix or Amazon.
As we get some DVDs.
Some coasters.
Get these
Retro
coasters.
I still want to watch Bring Out the Dead, and
I want to do that. That should be the first one.
well, this is gonna fit with the pandemic shit.
One
Mike,
of
what
us-
are you doing tonight? Because I have nothing planned. We can sit and watch one of these movies and just get hammered. Ryan's too good for us. Kirsten could fill in for you.
That'd be good.
You want to do that? Like, we're
Ryan,
going to ask
but-
you if you wanted to go to dinner, because I know he's busy, but okay. I guess we
I can hang
end
out.
it. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Holding the Wall. We didn't exactly stay on track, but I hope you guys enjoyed it anyway.
Adios.
All right. Thank you for listening to Holding the Wall.
Like I said, YouTube, Instagram, or iTunes.
Feel free to contact us at holdingthewall@gmail.com or DM us at Instagram at holdingthewall.
Thank you to our sponsors and support us on Patreon for extra content. Hope to see you soon. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.